Everyone does better when they think they made the decision on their own.
Especially with something like pain. So if I'm letting them make the choice, they're like, this must not be that bad.
Right. We good, fam.
Yeah, exactly.
Mystical plan. I'm out here making choices.
Exactly.
I would like more range today, Katie.
Yes, and I will shake that ass, as Mystical says. Yes.
Welcome to the Coach 'em Up podcast. I am Tim Riley. Zach Zollner's not with us today, but that's okay. He's in Miami, and someone who is typically in Miami is now here with me today, Dr. Katie Dabrowski. Katie, how are you?
I'm happy to be here. I know we did a little tradesy with Zach being in Miami, but I'm so excited for
Honestly,
him to be
I'm
there.
enjoying the trade so far. I feel like in the Miami-Austin trade, I've won.
You know what? I was going to say that, but it's fine. I haven't even met him in person yet, but I'm
sure Zach will have feelings about that. But yeah, 100%. Well, he's the kind of person when you meet him, you want to insult him.
Yeah, I get that a lot. You know, there's a lot of people in my life that I feel that way about. So I'm super, Zach, can't wait to meet you.
Yeah, can't wait. She's can't wait to insult you to your face.
Yeah, exactly. This is off to a good start.
Yes, it is. Before we jump into questions and Katie's background and everything, just a few things. One, there are two types of people in this world. Katie, we're going to get into her neuroscience background and psychology. So I bet she's going to back me on this 110%. Two types of people in this world. There are subscribers, and then there are non-subscribers. Yikes. So if you're the latter and not the former up to this point, you can change that. You can take the power back in your life and you can do the right thing. And there's no better time than now to make the right decision. Become a subscriber. It's free. It helps the show. It keeps kicking this can down the road to whatever end this thing's going to be. But we would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you have a girlfriend, significant other, or boyfriend, significant other, partner, family member who leaves their phone unattended. Normally, I would not condone this kind of behavior. Don't go through their text messages. Don't look at their pictures. It's none of your business. This is your business. You're going to go to Spotify, to YouTube. You're going to open those apps. You're not going to look at their search history. But what you're going to do is you're going to do them the greatest gift you could give someone, and that's force them to follow us and like all of our stuff. With that being said, I'm sure you're on board with all of that behavior.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Dr. Kate, do you like being called doctor?
I don't really care.
Is it
man.
weird? You don't give a shit.
It's not that it's weird. It's just that I find it's just like unnecessary. I don't know. I don't really care. And it just reminds me like how much student loan debt I have.
Oh,
you know, when you take away that, it's like, I'm just a real person.
I'm a person in debt.
I laugh so I don't cry.
100%. Same. Yeah, that's actually my first and foremost coping mechanism. So Katie.
Yes.
I already told you that I did a tremendous amount of chat GPTing and Instagram stalking to prepare myself. Yes, 100%. Yeah. Also great to meet you.
Yeah.
In preparation for this show.
Yes.
Incredibly impressive.
Thanks.
By the way, I feel underqualified to be asking you questions.
Don't even.
But so I've learned a lot about you recently, and I've been following you for some time now.
Right.
For the people who don't know who you are, who need and are about to learn more about you, can you tell everyone about who you are, how you got into training, how you got into coaching? Start from the first trauma we talked about.
It was a warm day in 1992. It was January, but it was warm. It's Florida.
Yeah, right.
I fell in love with exercise from a super young age. I was like the weird kid rolling around outside trying to figure out how to do pull-ups at like single-digit ages.
God, that's awesome.
It's so weird. Don't really know why. I don't come from like an athletic family. Not sure where that came from.
Wow.
Yeah, it's strange.
You and Quentin Willie share that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that he did talk about that. Yeah. I don't really know. Like, my family's a bunch of nerds, which makes sense, like science nerds with what my ultimate education background was. I don't know, man. I just got really into exercise from a super young age. Rowing was my main sport. So,
shit.
Yeah. So I rowed in high school and college. It was so miserable. It's one of those weird things that, like, speaking of trauma, like, I love it and miss it, but holy shit, it was so miserable.
Yeah.
But
for people who don't because a lot of people won't, I'm going to interject.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about like the amount of time, energy, and effort that goes into rowing? Like, how would you explain what rowing demands of you to someone who's never picked up an oar in their life?
So I'll talk about it especially from the collegiate perspective because that's where shit gets crazy. So it's a fall and spring sport, meaning you're the first on campus and the last to leave. Exactly. So the fall season, you do 5K races, and which is your longer distance. The spring season, it's not at all a sprint, but it's called the sprint season. It's 2K races. And we are on the water Monday through Saturday. Monday through Friday for us, we had to be at the boathouse just before 5 a.m. Correct? We would be leaving campus as everybody else was coming back from being out and just like in real time feeling the weight of our decision to do this sport. Oh my God,
Katie.
Yeah, and it was a break on Saturday because it started at 6. So it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
I'm going to stay up till 10.
Exactly. But we're college kids. Nobody went to sleep early.
Right.
We were like redlining on 3 hours of sleep all of the time.
Oh my God. I would have never, between the sun searing my ginger skin in the Florida water in that boat.
But it's early morning, luckily, so you would have been fine.
True.
You'd have been our beacon of hope because we could see you glowing.
This is true. Great. Yes. Put me at the front of the boat.
Exactly. Yeah. So we were still like the
beacon
sun
of hope.
The sun was coming up as we were like leaving and going back to campus. Yeah. So all of that, plus we would lift 2 or 3 times a week and then have additional erg practices too.
Man.
Yeah. So the good thing about it all, like everything I've ever done has been easier. So that's been like, especially going to PT school as well. Like, I don't have to be studying for neuroscience and rowing. This is great. Like I just have to focus on school.
Perfect.
But it was wild. It's a love-hate relationship for sure. I miss it, and I miss that team feeling, and just, you know how it is, like when you're around people and you're doing something so hard together. I miss that a lot, but I don't miss the time commitment and just like how beat up my body felt all of the time. Like all of the time. So that's the athletic background, or I say fitness background because I want to differentiate. I'm not athletic. Throw a ball at me, I will die.
But you are a weapon.
But I am a weapon. Correct.
Which is fucking sweet.
Correct. I'll take that any day. It's so funny. My business partner played football at USC, and like the differences of how we exist in space are hilarious. And I'll be like coaching a client and he'll just chuck a football at me and I do like the panic. But then I could like lift and run and jump and do all that stuff just fine, but anything otherwise, not my skill set. So let me make that very clear. That's kind of like the main thing I did. And I got super lucky. Like our coach in high school exposed us to lifting immediately. So I was lifting starting at 14. And hard, heavy stuff. He was from an excellent college program and graduated pretty recently. And so he was still in that mindset. He knew what to give us in high school. And I just got so lucky that I got exposed to it early. So I've almost been lifting for 20 years. And that's wild. Like that is definitely a big reason why I love everything that I get to do so much. So that's like the fitness side of things. And then kind of education side. Yeah, my background is in psychology and neuroscience. I assumed I was going to go the research route. So I did all of the kind of put your head down, work on a lot of research, get publications, go to conferences side of things. I was working it's called the Miami Project to Cure Paralysis. It's an amazing research institution in Miami that's all centered around traumatic brain injury and spinal cord injury. And every type of research imaginable, like the most cutting edge clinical trials are there. And I was working on the like electron microscopes in the basement, barely talking to anybody.
Holy shit.
And I had that realization of like, I spend more time with rats than I do with humans. And the person who was leading the study, who I was going to get my PhD with, she pulled me into her office and she told me she didn't think this was the career for me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No fucking way.
In the moment, I was like, what have I
shattered?
done? Absolutely. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is all that I've ever done and all that I've ever planned for.
Man.
And she said it in a way that she didn't think I would like it because she could tell I was more outgoing and needed to be around people. I was like, yeah, the rats they're getting kind of old.
Yeah.
And
as smart as they are.
Yeah, super smart. Yeah. And she told me she just really thought I should expand like what I was looking into doing because she didn't think I would be happy. And that was the best piece of advice that I ever got. Like at the moment, I was absolutely crushed, but it was the best. I'm so
shout out to someone crushing your dreams,
right?
But for the greater good.
Yeah, that's the takeaway from today. But like, I thought it was awesome that she even took the time to do that.
Yeah.
Because I worked
She
hard.
cared enough to have an uncomfortable conversation with you.
I would have been a good person to work under her because I would have done everything she said and put my head down. And I probably would have had a breakdown.
Sure.
Because it's so stressful. So that kind of made me reevaluate everything because this was after I graduated college and I was planning on getting a PhD. And I had this kind of like epiphany of, okay, if I like research and academia, I need a doctorate degree for that. But if I want to work with people and I'm not really interested in being a physician, what's the option? Yeah. And I thought of physical therapy. And it's interesting, like I had the very typical story of injury in college, going through physical therapy.
Can I ask what the injury was?
Yeah,
or
disc herniation. Yeah, classic
God.
with rowing. Yeah. So my final year of rowing, I actually became the coxswain instead, which is like the person who steers and coaches and like commands the boat, because I was small enough where I could be, but I couldn't row anymore for my last year.
Your back was in shambles.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Imagine, just for those listening, it's like your whole, the stable platform from which you're going to row from is essentially your back, right?
Yeah.
And your disc is herniated.
But I would also, if beyond it just being like, yes, the mechanical side of it's a lot of flexion. I mean, it was like the perfect storm for an injury. I mentioned I was probably sleeping 3 hours a night.
Right.
I'm a college kid, so the one night a week that we're able to, I'm drinking and I'm going hard.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
Like the Saturday, I'm like, finally.
It is time.
Exactly.
The whole week has culminated
like, rise up and go. And I was
just
also...
like Katie's like at space. It's 6 a.m.
Okay,
and she's like...
what did ChatGPT tell you?
Listen... I just feel that was actually not ChatGPT. That was me, but I'm just imagining myself in your shoes.
For sure.
That's where you would have caught me.
Yeah.
20s, Miami.
And everything closed or didn't close at 4 or 5 a.m. And we're like, this is the one night. So I had like that added into the mix.
Yep.
I also for sure was not eating enough and not fueling enough. And I for sure was like the poster child of REDS, like all of the things that would just go into like the perfect scenario to have an injury.
Yeah, you're getting a psychology and behavioral neuroscience degree.
Right. Yeah, like it was just the stress. I could not even imagine how high it was.
Just who you are today, as you look back over that?
Yeah.
Let's press pause and just kind of appreciate.
Yeah.
What you were able to accomplish, because that is incredible.
Well, thanks.
But I have these moments where I'll start talking about a period of time in my life and everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And look, there's not a person listening to this podcast, us, who doesn't have stressors, right? Like I've got a busy fucking life right now. I'm fucking stressed.
Exactly.
But I can look back at periods of time and knowing where I was, the tools I had to navigate those things, and the fact I was still able to do it.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, I'm like, I could never go through that again.
1,000%. I think about that pretty often, actually, where I'm like, no, I would
thank God it happened then.
Yeah. When I was like 20 and unable to even really think of anything else, like this just is what it is.
Yes.
I think that's what it was. Like, okay, this is just what I have to do right now.
Right.
The thought of it now, no. Never again. So yeah, that was a wild time to say the least. And it was like, that was such a good example of the like complexity of injury and it being it was so easy to blame it on.
You are the biopsychosocial model, Katie.
That's amazing. Wow. Full circle moment.
Yes.
It is me.
It is Katie.
Wow.
Everyone,
we're done.
Feast your eyes. Podcast is over. We have figured it out.
Wow. I gotta write a book. Okay. No, but I mean, it just like, it's so interesting that actually is so much of how I treat and work with clients now. But I didn't in that moment ever think that I was going to end up in this career. Like it's so interesting that kind of the full circle moment.
Yeah.
I ended up doing what I do. But yeah, it was definitely an intense time to say the least. But as I was mentioning from like a physical standpoint, man, rowing just gives you such an engine and such like a willingness to do really difficult things.
Just enduring the suck.
Yeah, exactly. And like now I do like trail mountain races for fun because I guess I still hate myself. I don't know.
It wasn't enough punishment.
It wasn't, but it's like nothing feels as bad as that felt.
Right.
So it's like, hell yeah, I'll do any of this shit, whatever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself, we were talking about, you know, how South Florida, particularly Miami, it's just like, it's not reality, or it's like the average, like what would be a minivan or like, you know, a moderately used Tahoe for like a family vehicle
right.
is like a Range Rover.
But like
and
a
then
tricked out Range
like
Rover.
A nice one. Yeah, it's like wrapped and has like tents and like really like Vossen
sure.
rims.
Yeah.
And then like you get them in as a client and they're like, oh, I'm so stressed. And you're like, are you? Are you? Are you stressed out? Listen, I'm sure it's all relative
yeah.
and sure.
It is interesting though, because for sure. I mean, we're always thinking that where you see one side of somebody and then often they'll kind of unspiel what's really going on in their life. And it's like, yeah, no wonder you don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like this makes perfect sense. And your life on the outside, the curation of it to look a certain way, that's also stressful to keep that up too.
The charade.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, she had a Range Rover, then I had to get one. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's real though.
It is, yeah.
So, okay, you make it. You get through your education, your traditional education. You're no longer rowing. And then did you like have a plan? Were you like, okay, this is the next step?
Yeah.
Like what's next in that story?
I'm a very like action-oriented person, probably to the annoyance of most people in my life because they come to me with something and I'm like, what's your action plan? And they're like, can you just not do that?
There's freedom in the action.
Yeah, that's what I say. Thank you. That's validating. But yeah, I mean, I had to take a few prereqs that I didn't get with my undergrad education. So I went through that and I got a job because the side of research, it was just too much to keep doing while I was going back and finishing prereqs to ultimately apply to PT school.
Okay.
So I worked as an editor at a marketing firm. Hilariously.
Really?
Yeah.
Has that paid off later though, I bet? I mean, I see the hat.
True. I mean, I do love to write and I think it's a huge valuable skill to have. So potentially, but it was like in just a random subject area. It was a marketing firm for financial advisors. Super interesting. So I did that and they were awesome. Like they let me take classes whenever I needed to, as long as I just got the work done. They even let me work remotely leading into when I moved to Miami for PT school to start. Like it was pretty cool. So I was doing that for a couple years to kind of just go slow and pay for the classes like one at a time kind of. And then I applied to PT school and I was nervous because I was like, man, I took some time off. I took some of these classes at a community college. Like I felt like I wasn't going to look like a good applicant.
Yeah. And
I had a really successful time with applications and ultimately decided on the University of Miami and it was wild. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
What was your, so going through PT school, what were your takeaways? Like what was the experience like?
I think I was lucky in that I went to PT school from 2016 to 2019.
Okay.
And I think I was in there just before Instagram became what it is for the fitness industry.
Sure.
And now all you see is what it can be and what Cash PT is like and how stupid PT school is and all the bad stuff.
Right.
I was really lucky that I don't really think I got exposed to that. So I just kind of took it for what it was. We were learning a lot of stuff that, especially with my background of like neuroscience and physiology, I was like, this is whack. Like, this is not anything that I would do with somebody. But I still kind of just took it for what it was and enjoyed the process of being there. And like, by and large, like my experience was excellent. I think it's really easy to kind of talk badly about PT school because yes, there is a lot of stuff that needs to be completely revamped and especially like the strength and conditioning and exercise phys side of things. I think there was just so much room left on the table. Luckily, I had such a background in exercise that I don't really think it mattered. But I loved PT school, and we had like the most fun class. University of Miami was a great program. The professors were super approachable, and it was fun. Like we were just kind of enjoying the process. Like I was mentioning, I didn't have to row, so I was like, I just have to do this.
Yeah,
this
you
is
can just
sick.
Fucking dial in.
Yeah, and it was really fun. So I enjoyed it. I think there was definitely this feeling though of like, oh, I'm not going to work for somebody though. Like, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to work in one of these clinics that I've done an internship in.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not seeing 28 patients a day.
Yeah.
And I'm not being a slave to my documentation, and I am not dealing with insurance. So that was understood from the beginning.
Honestly, if anything, I imagine having that experience, which is kind of like that whole, the encapsulation of the PT school and like the traditional grind, particularly in most people who would be listening to the show who are like more performance inclined and are going to be more clued in on like what it means to return to play and just, probably worth it to actually have that experience.
Totally.
Like, that's invaluable experience.
Totally.
To be able to have spent time in that setting, because it's like just as valuable as quote unquote knowing what to do. Mm-hmm. For me, the story of my life has been figuring out, oh, don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Let me try again. Nope. Yep. I was right the first time. Shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
I think so. Like, I think it almost forced me to set the standard for myself really early on, knowing like, oh, I want to do this really differently when I get out. Mm-hmm. And it made me super excited by it. It made me like, I want to do something different. I want to do something that doesn't look like what the textbook says to do, because I think there's something else here.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of lit a fire. I started my own practice immediately. I was a trainer during PT school at a gym in Miami, and the owner was awesome. And he was like, hey, if you would like, we can kind of renovate that front space. That can be your office. I know, it was wild. In Miami, people are nice too. It's crazy. I know.
Wow.
So, and I was already seeing training clients, and like I could pay rent off my training clients.
Yep.
Worst case scenario, nobody wants to do physical therapy with me, and I keep training them. But it worked. Like, it was wild. So I did that immediately. And pretty scary in looking back. Like, again, I don't know if I would have the willingness to do that in that way now. Because I just, in my head, I was like, worst case scenario, I can get a job.
I think about it too, like early on in my training career, like I was willing to try things because I was ignorant.
Totally.
Like, had I had the awareness then.
Yeah.
And like, God bless my first however many clients.
Yeah.
Right? But like, had I had that awareness then, like I don't make the necessary mistakes that I needed to form the foundation and sort of the bedrock of what would then be like the launching pad for me to go on to do better shit.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, I just was in it and being like, well, whatever, I'm going to try this. And I am a firm believer in, if you put yourself in an uncomfortable enough position where like it just has to work, that you're going to be more motivated. Like 100%. I kind of knew if I made this a side hustle and I worked somewhere else, it would stay a side hustle. At best, at worst, I would explode and it would be too much. So,
well, dude, I did that with this podcast.
There you go.
And the conference coming up, so I completely relate.
Yeah.
I, like you, if I'm placed in a position, I work really well under pressure, dude.
Same. I need impending doom of a deadline. Yeah.
My girlfriend might say that I do it intentionally.
Ah, interesting. We'll unpack that
she
later.
Loves.
Yeah.
She loves that.
I'm sure she does.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. We'll unpack that later. It's fine. Yeah.
So I want to talk about the unique skill set that you have. Because it is unique, and I think it's really special. And we talked off air about my interest in just the way why human beings are the way that they are, and the hardwiring of that, and the neuroscience side of things. And the two are, I'm speaking as someone who doesn't have a degree in either of these, just lived experience, how inseparable they are.
Totally, yeah.
And then layering this piece where it's like you have an expertise here. But you went to PT school and you've been practicing as a physical therapist, as a strength coach for years in your own practice. Talk to me around how you've married your expertise in neuroscience, psychology, physical therapy, as a trainer and coach, and how have those things become inseparable for you?
Yeah, I think it makes... like zoomed out now, it just makes logical sense that all of them are married together. But I remember in the moment when I was transitioning my careers, I was like, man, did I do all of that for nothing? Yeah. Almost just thinking like, that was so much work to not do the thing that everybody knew I was going to do. I think that was part of it too. Like I was known as the person who was going to do neuroscience research. And that plays a huge role in that too, of just like my perception, but other people's perception.
100%. It's like, well, she was going to school to learn neuroscience. We were doing research. Now
And as silly as that sounds, like it really, I felt that.
Fuck yeah, dude.
I didn't know necessarily how married everything would be. And now I don't understand how it could not be.
Right.
Like, I think something that I'm most passionate about as a coach, beyond being like a physiology and program design nerd, because I love that, but also just the psychology and behavior side of it. I think 90% of what we can actually do as really, really stellar coaches and providers is to just like create an unreasonably awesome time for somebody, especially when they are experiencing pain. Somebody in pain. And that's not just for rehab providers. Coaches see people in pain way more and way before we do. Like, if you can make them smile, and if you can have fun, and if you can, what I say a lot of is like create a positive experience with movement. When I have somebody who has come in and they think that movement is the dangerous thing, but I can make them have fun while they're doing it, I've won. That's rehab. That's training. That is so much more than getting into the physiology side of things. I always tell people, like, I don't really have like a system that I follow. I'm very agnostic with many things, but especially with like training and coaching and ideologies for that. But my system, if I have one, is I'm chasing psychological resiliency and physiological adaptation. I don't really care what your diagnosis is. I don't really care what your past medical history is. I don't really care much else. If I have those things as my goalposts, I'm going to be fine.
David Gray was recently on the show. He spent like the week with me, and
Nice.
He was with me with my NFL offseason group.
Yeah.
And at one point, he turned to me and he said, "It's just vibes, man." You know? And
Yes. It's a much more succinct way of saying it. It's spot on. Yeah.
But like I for myself have identified that a lot of the progress that I'm able to have personally, professionally, you know, within the context of a relationship with a client, it's invaluable. It's foundational. It's the most important piece. And I think that's a conversation that trainers and coaches have. It's like we know it, but it usually falls into like a few different categories. So like when people hear it, it's like, okay, you just have fun and create. Like there's going to be someone looking at it from the point of view of like it's just kind of like warm and fuzzy.
Right.
And it's just kind of like this nebulous sort of thing.
Yeah.
And but ultimately, I've found it's like it's not that. It can be that.
Right.
But that's not what you're talking about.
Correct.
Here.
Yeah.
So can we dive in a little bit deeper into like what that looks like? What does that mean?
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, it's definitely not just this cheerleader rah-rah experience or where I only want to make people feel warm and fuzzy and we never do anything difficult. It's so much more of, I think what's really cool about our professions is we have to be chameleons and we have to meet people where they're at. And our coaching style, our communication style, we have to mirror people. But if we're working with somebody really negative, we can't go deep into that.
Right.
So we do have to be a little bit more positive. I annoy my clients purposefully, and I like when they say something like, "Oh, my bad leg," and I'm like, "That's your opportunity leg." And they get so annoyed. They get so annoyed because they're like, "I get it. It's my opportunity." Like they, at this point, they're just like, "Katie, shut up." But I do it to poke fun. But it is like those reframes are important.
Yes.
So it's a lot of reframing. It's a lot of having those conversations and talking about things that are distressing and reframing it in a bit so it's maybe not as distressing. It's also, I think the biggest thing is just like what I care the most about is I want to be the provider that I might be the first person they've ever been able to tell their story to the way they want to, as in-depth as they would like, as emotional as they would like. Like, I want to be that person. At Old Bull, we want to be those people.
Yeah.
Because as all of us know in healthcare, most providers don't get very much time with people, or they feel rushed, or they can't even take the time to like take a really solid.
It's not even an option.
Yeah, it's not even an option. Or there's unfortunately the lens also that you're going to get more information of how to help somebody by like poking and prodding and only doing testing.
Right.
I get like 90% of my information literally from what they tell me.
Yeah.
That is so much more valuable. So I use that time very carefully to make somebody feel warm and make somebody feel welcome. And I'm silly. I crack jokes. Like I want somebody to know like this isn't all serious.
Right.
And like that you're not here only working on this and this is the only thing we can talk about. I want to know about your life. I want to know about you, what's important to you. And I'm weird and silly and I want to have fun. Like I think I can't be normal for very long. So you're going to see it. It's going to go away.
Listen, I can only keep this contained for so long.
No other option. It's so funny. My team, like our group chat at work is just a collection of photos zoomed in on my face while I'm lifting. Thanks, guys. And everybody before I was going, they're like, oh, this is recorded. You got to be careful with your face. And I was like, thanks, guys. But it's true. Like I can't hide it. I want to be weird with my clients too.
Yes.
That's a great soundbite. But I just want to have fun with people and I want them to feel like a rehab experience and a training experience that they haven't before. So that's what it's all about.
That's incredibly relatable and refreshing. And it's tough because I think that a lot of people could probably resonate with is wanting to like do a good job.
Yeah.
And wanting to admit the presence of like, this is serious and you're taking it seriously.
Yes.
But I think like there's a lot of magic in not taking yourself too seriously. Correct. Or like the dynamic.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned something too that, and this is like the mirroring skill set, shout out trauma. You know what I mean? Like some of
this episode sponsored by
trauma. Like, but truly, like I learned early on that if I was going to navigate my surroundings and do so in a way that was going to make my life as easy as possible, I was going to mirror the people around me.
For sure. Yeah.
Full circle moment. Right?
Yeah.
Like in my training career, I find that one of my better skill sets, not counting as it turns out, or even knowing what rep you're on, but
that's ubiquitous across the board.
I can meet, but when someone walks in the door, I can pretty much know. It's like, okay, here's the vibe we're at.
Yeah.
And being able to like kind of navigate them towards elevating or whatever we need to do to get through that session.
I think that's like one of the coolest parts of our jobs.
Yeah.
I talk about this with my team a lot, like how lucky we are to work in a profession that challenges us like that. Mm-hmm. And because I think one of the things, and aging, and this is a whole other like down like a rabbit hole of like my excitement for helping people get more excited about aging and the things they can do across the lifespan. I think another big part of that is your like cognitive flexibility, and that is something that decreases with age. But I think like being in professions like this, I think we're pretty protected against a lot of those things.
Sure.
Like we are so on all the time, and we have to be able to pivot in real time and like recognize signs that somebody is not feeling what we're doing, and which happens a lot. And pivot and also not make them feel bad for it.
Right.
Like I think all of that, it just makes us more sensitive communicators. And I think that's really lucky. Like I don't think there's many other professions that get to do it in the way that we do.
100%. I completely agree. Do you do the thing though? Because I do this where I do find a way to make myself as busy as fucking possible. I'm going to find time to fill.
Yep.
And because I love it. I do. I'm obsessed with doing it. I'm addicted, one might say. But I'm on, and I'm not even, it's not like I'm actively thinking about like, oh, I'm trying to mirror this person.
Right,
I'm like, it's just who I am.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to be from the top rope, just a deep cut, but Grandma's Boy, the guy who does the rope.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I haven't thought of that cinematic masterpiece in a really long time.
Yes. How old are you?
33.
Oh yeah, we're the same.
Perfect.
We're the same person.
Yeah.
But like after doing that all day, I'll get home some days, not all days. You know, I have a daughter and I have a girlfriend. I've got a big life I'm grateful for. Mm-hmm. But there are times where I will stack a few of those days in a row and I get home and I am nonverbal.
Yeah.
I don't have anything left to give.
Totally.
And it's like this, you know, my social, emotional battery, it's just getting, you know. But the reason I bring this is an unexpected topic, but the reason I bring that up is like, how do you deal with that? How do you navigate it? Because you're a business owner, right? You're active on socials.
Yeah.
You've got a big life down there in South Florida.
Yeah.
What are the things that you do to be able to show up consistently on a regular basis for the people who are relying on you to do so?
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think not talked about a lot in the industry because you want to like posture that you can do it all.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a huge part of it.
There's also a sentiment, particularly in strength and conditioning world, where it's like, shut the fuck up.
Correct. Just like
Don't
do
be
the work. Nobody cares.
Listen, pal.
Yeah.
It sucks for all of us. I'm on my third wife. You know?
Exactly.
And she hates me too.
Yeah,
so fuck you.
exactly.
You know what I mean? Oh, you're engaged first time? Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. It's all downhill from here. You're going to be real upset soon.
Just wait.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's this weird thing of even admitting that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stretch myself way too thin. My fiance's always like, what do you have, 14 jobs? I'm like, probably. I don't know. And even with this, I was like, by the way, I'm going to Austin next week.
Right.
Like,
Hell yeah. He's like, what?
Yeah. Like I think we're lucky that we love it enough to do that to ourselves. Dude. I'm also really lucky. So my fiance is also in the industry and has his own business. So he's a strength coach. He gets it. And we're really similar in that like when we're done with the day, both nonverbal.
Yes.
And we just stare at our dog.
Yeah,
and
hell
it's great.
yeah.
Yeah. We have just like
so
this
nice.
understanding. Like I'm nose to nose with my dog. Ugh. And that's like, that's my recharge.
Same.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the biggest thing is for me, I've just had to get better at saying yes to only the things that actually are going to move the needle.
Yeah.
And be something that I'm very, very closely aligned with because that just gets out of control because we love what we do and we want to say yes and we want to help people.
Boundaries are hard, huh?
Really, really hard. Really, really hard. I'm getting better-ish, but it's just such a process. For me, like my training is my non-negotiable. And I'm a big fan of reframing without necessarily even caring or calling it reframing. It's just stuff that I do. Like I really love my training. It's so much fun. And I think of my days that I train and I happen to also see clients. Like I really do think of it that way. And not that one is better or more important than the other, but it really helps instead of like, man, I have a slam day and then I have to get this hard lift in. It's like, no, I'm lifting and I'm centering my nutrition choices and what I'm doing that day around that. And then I get to bookend that lift with really awesome people to work with.
Yeah.
And it's so simple, but it makes a big difference. I also more recently, within the last year, I don't see any clients on Fridays. And that's like my admin day. I'm catching up on things. I'll take meetings. If I'm doing virtual podcasts, I'll do it that day. And if somebody wants to meet with me, that is the day that we do it. So that has helped a ton as well. I think just like creating a non-negotiable time slot, it doesn't have to be an entire day.
Right.
It can also just be like, hey, from this window of time, I'm not seeing clients or I'm not doing anything except this. And that's been really helpful too.
See, I'm doing 6 days a week right now. And I had a Sunday off recently. I think it was a holiday or was it Mother's Day? There was a reason.
Yeah.
I was forced to, and I spent the day and I was like, I've gotten so much work done.
Yeah.
Things that have been haunting me in my notes app.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Just fucking clawing at the back of my brain. It's like, you still haven't called him.
It's amazing what
you need
actually
to email that person.
Calming down does.
Yeah.
I actually also with vacations. So I do love to travel and take vacations still, but I always worked through all of them.
Yes.
And last summer we went to Spain and it was the first time I set an autoresponder and didn't respond when the email came in with the autoresponder. And I've never done that before. I would still see it, and I'm like, I know they just got the autoresponder, but I need them to know that I saw it, so I'm responding anyway. It was chaos. So to actually be able to do that, and then wouldn't you know, I came back so productive,
right?
Not burnt out,
excited to work,
feeling fantastic. My training was the best it's been, and I was like, it's so strange,
weird.
I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But it's so obvious, but until we do it, we're like, no, go, go, go.
The Coach 'em Up podcast has partnered with Eleiko.
Let's go!
Not only is Eleiko found in 85% of Power 5 schools, but they also offer at-home solutions from racks, flooring, rigs, barbells, bumper plates, your favorite accessories like straps and weightlifting belts, you name it, Eleiko's got you covered. Go to eleiko.com/coachemup and get access to the same equipment that they're using in the best facilities with the best athletes on the planet. I'm interested to know, selfishly here, the integration of the entire human lens when it comes to rehab and training. So much about my ability to be able to do that and to ultimately get let me back up a little bit. I wouldn't do that if I didn't think it made the experience better for me and for the client.
Totally.
And the likelihood of getting a positive outcome. So like I'll put that out there. It's like I'm not interested in doing this from some altruistic place. I'm not. Okay?
For sure.
At the end of the day, it's like I'm fucking miserable if you're miserable.
Right.
We're miserable.
This isn't fun anymore.
This isn't fun.
Yeah.
Your results suck.
Yeah.
You hate me. I'm starting to hate you.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this for a living? Now I'm going to go home and be mute. My girlfriend's mad at me. It really spirals out of control.
Yeah, I see. This is a lot.
So let's just turn this into a therapy session for me.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, like the work that I've done on myself to show up as the person that I want to on a day-to-day basis in all of my relationships has afforded me the opportunity to show up a better version of myself and be able to mirror people and reframe and do all those help impart those tools and use them with my clients and with my athletes because I have them.
Yes.
So I, out of curiosity, am interested to know, like, what has your own personal relationship been with growing as a person and applying some of these principles and lessons that you've learned in neuroscience through your psychology degree in your own life?
Yeah.
And then how have you been able to, because there's a saying, a mentor of mine says all the time, says, you can't transmit something you don't got.
That's good.
So it's really hard to, utilize a skill appropriately and have flexibility to apply that skill if you can't enact it in your own life.
That's a really good
And there's
line.
an authenticity to it, right?
Right, like we're not just saying like positive psychology bullshit.
Right.
Like,
Bingo.
because I hate that too.
100%. Yeah, it's like,
I
well, I
hate that.
watched a TikTok, so he's definitely a narcissist.
Right, exactly. Like, because I hate that side of it too. Because that's where this gets tricky because it can be disingenuous. It can be
100%.
You're just repeating some like dumb mantra that you saw online. Or like, do I actually embody this and do this in my life? I think a big thing for me is that I really try to just approach everything in my life with a lot of positivity. And it's really funny because growing up, like I called my mom Positive Patty because she was so over the top positive that we would make
Like
fun of her.
exhaustingly
Yeah.
positive.
Like she was just like cheery and like singing around the house and like baking muffins. Like
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so we, to this day, my sister and I like
we had a different home experience. My mom was lovely, but not everyone always would. Keep going.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to the point where like my sister and I still make fun of her for
Yeah.
it. And I didn't realize how much I took that with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn it, I'm doing what Patty does.
God
Like,
damn it.
shit, Patty.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I really think like if you can try to create that lens with what you're doing, it's a game changer. And it's something that like trying to look for the good in situations but in a genuine way, like not forcing it down somebody's throat. And that helps me show up. Another big thing that helps me show up for people, I literally think about what I'm doing with somebody as I want to give them the best hour experience that I possibly can. And that does quite a few things. It makes me get over anything going on in my life because it's not about me. It makes me snap out of it, and it makes me be not irritable. It makes me be not annoyed at the growing to-do list of things that I have to do, whatever it might be. So that centers me really quickly. And then it helps me with like physiologically too, because I'm like, I'm not going to do dumb stuff with them if I'm thinking about
What's
this being
best
the best
for
hour.
them. Yes.
So what is best for them? It's going to be something that is going to create an adaptation, not laying on a table. So those like that really drives me in everything that I do of like, how can I make this the best? I do that for my own training too. I'm sure you can relate. We have a limited window of time to get our sessions in.
Yep.
So how can I make this the most valuable time possible? That's what I do. Same thing when I'm getting work done. How can I make this the most efficient and best use of my 2-hour block that I have instead of just kind of getting distracted? So I think it's like holding myself accountable for, I said I was going to do this thing. How can I make it the best use of that time,
That
which is
a
hard.
big one. Saying
Super
doing
hard.
what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, super hard. And I feel like when you start to do it more and more, it becomes less of a conscious choice and just like, this is the only way that I do things. And I think that helps a lot too.
You know, if I were to oversimplify everything you just said, what I took away from that was, and it's cliche, but it's huge if you really tease it out. And I think that's what you did, is being where your feet are. You know what I mean? People talk about being present, but that also sounds like kind of like one of those like woo-woo sort of nebulous things.
Like, are you grounding?
Right, exactly. Yeah. No, it's like, no, it's not like, butthole sun or whatever. It's like.
We had two different examples.
We did.
Examples. Thank you for your contribution.
Anyway, I'm just trying to be helpful. But yeah, like being, and then there's also this barrier to being a good coach that I think gets overlooked or not talked about at all, is the perspective of what's happening within the context of the time you're given with someone.
Yes.
So if I'm thinking or I'm operating from a place of what's best for this person, I'm inherently not thinking about what's best for me or what my ambitions are.
Yes.
Regarding what I want to take away from this time and where I think this person should go.
That's so good. Yes.
And often, because I did this.
Well, that's why I have the lens that I have.
Yep.
Because we all did that.
My ambitions or my preconceived notions or whatever the stuff I was bringing to the session, actually, and the problem is like those things would work just often enough for me to confirm my own bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that about like the rehab industry as a whole, of the
100%.
things that just work enough.
Where
it confirms.
You have a meniscus here? Well, let's look at the sheet.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, 2 out of 10 people reported that they're perfect now. So fuck, it must be working.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other 8 just didn't do it good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Idiots.
No, I love that though. I that's where, I mean, when I'm like working with my team on just creating like the client experience, I think if that's your anchor point of making it the best hour or however time you have with somebody, that like clears up a lot of the other stuff that you could do. It really clears up from my lens, like the super low level stuff that does not matter, the correctives, the silly things that just don't matter. It clears it up and it makes me like, we're getting right to work. We're not spending time doing things that do not move the needle physiologically for you or psychologically for you. And we're going to get right to work.
Fucking preach. Let's go. Katie's also she's also a pastor. She's also, and I'm just going to put everyone on blast. There has not been a guest who has brought us a gift except for Katie Dabrowski. So everyone, if you're in your car or you're in public or you're listening to this in the gym, start clapping. Just standing ovation for Katie right now. And when people look at you like they're crazy, just give them the finger or something. I don't know. But like, also, so Old Bull Athletics, this is a wonderful segue because I do want to talk about the fact you're a business owner. You've grown a business from what it sounds like a glorified storage closet and a personal training studio to what it is today. Can you talk about the humble beginnings, some of the lessons you've learned along the way? And then honestly, like there are a lot of people listening to this who either work for someone like you or have dreams and aspirations to build out their own thing and really leave a mark and an impact. Yeah. So I would love to hear about what the journey has been.
Yeah. So Old Bull Athletics, my business partner, Frankie Telfort, started in 2015. So we just hit our 10-year anniversary, which is
dude,
crazy.
You fucking did it.
Crazy. And I actually, when I had started my initial practice, that was before I met Frankie. And I just started my own thing. About 8 months-ish into that, I met Frankie. And it was because I knew a trainer that had worked for him. So at that point, Old Bull was like one-on-one strength training. Frankie's an exercise physiologist and strength coach and badass, like an incredible business person and coach. And so I went into what was Old Bull at the time and did a training session with one of the coaches because it was Squattober. And I was like, obviously we're squatting.
Obviously this is what's happening.
We all did that for too many years.
You're just pretending.
Exactly. So Frankie kind of heard us talking and realized that I was a PT who was doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And he's like a go-getter. He came right up to me and was like, we should talk. Because he's referring out for physical therapy. Why would they not have somebody who's like-minded in the same space? And I kind of told him, I was like, I mean, if you have some clients for me to see, I could see them on like Tuesdays, but I'm building a business. Thank you. Like, let's give this about a year of us trying this and see if we like how we work together. He made me feel what it would feel like to be his partner immediately. He knew what he was doing. He brought me in for decisions, talked to me about the mission, talked to me about what we could do like long term after that initial meeting.
Damn, dude is a weapon.
Exactly. He's awesome. And we did that for a few months, and it just became very clear that like we were absolutely supposed to work together and partner. So I essentially like brought my practice over, and we just became like a partnership that way.
Wow.
And that was back in 2019? Yeah, 2019, so right before COVID.
I was just about to, because when you gave me the timeline, I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, right before COVID. And it was, as you could imagine, quite rough. And the good thing was we were a small boutique setting where people did feel comfortable when they were allowed to come back in. Mm-hmm. And because I was there, we had a medical license to stay open. So we were not a gym.
Incredible.
So we would have cops come to the door saying, you're a gym, you got to shut down. And I'd be like, hold, please.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, refer to me as Dr. Officer Gonzalez. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we were able to continue to build at that time. And I hired people during that time, actually.
Wow.
I remember we were getting busy and I was seeing a lot of patients, and Frankie was like, you can hire people. I was like, what? Like it didn't even cross my mind. Like I wasn't even really thinking of how much we could grow. And he just did such an amazing job of building a culture already that I knew I wanted to be a part of. Like, we're weird and we're silly and we have fun. And like, when you walk into Old Bull, it's a blast. And it looks like a gym where maybe somebody would think like, ooh, I'm not advanced enough to be here. Like, we have kettlebells up to 200 pounds. We have huge squat racks, and like we have everything that maybe would be intimidating to people. But as soon as they get a feel for the atmosphere and just how fun everybody is, everybody realizes they belong too. So since then, I mean, we've grown. We have 2 locations. We have a third one on deck.
My God, congratulations.
Thank you.
And they're all in the Miami area?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So our second location is hitting 3 years in August, which is crazy. And we have about 15 people across both locations.
Wow.
And like the most incredible team you could ever imagine. Like even just the group text when I was sitting out there waiting, like everybody is just sending videos and just talking shit to each other and having fun. Like it's just so much fun.
You got your team back.
Yes, exactly.
You got your team environment
I didn't even
back.
think of it that way, but that's exactly what it is.
So in getting sober, one of the there are a lot of principles and like mainstays and sayings, but like it's like you get to build the community that you seek around you.
I didn't even really put it into that perspective, but if you think about it too, I mean, Frankie was a college athlete as well, and it's pretty obvious that we're now that you've said that creating who's the psychology background now. Interesting.
Listen, if you spend as much time in therapy as almost, and at a certain point, you begin to realize it's like, this is a little self-indulgent, isn't it?
Right.
What do we can only talk about
hilarious.
This so much.
That's hilarious.
Before you're just talking about yourself all the time, which is another, I'm going to rabbit hole here, but like, that's a lot of people's problem. Thinking about yourself too much.
For sure. Yeah.
Anyway.
But with the team, I mean, like we have, so we do a couple things that are just ridiculous. We do Mystical Mondays, if you are familiar with the rap artist Mystical.
I had his album, The Tarantula.
As one does. So we do Mystical Mondays where like that's predominantly what we play all day.
Fuck yeah,
and
dude.
And it's hilarious and obnoxious.
Danger!
Exactly. And then you start to really realize what the lyrics are and you're like, oh no.
Whoa.
Oh.
Mystical.
Yeah.
Oof.
He's not good. Not
good.
So
also you have to separate the art from the artist.
Correct. We do that with Mystical weekly. Yeah. But we also recreated, if anybody is familiar with Office linebacker, Terry Tate. We recreated that, and Frankie is the Old Bull linebacker.
Wow.
And
I love this.
So that's a mini series that we've created. So
you guys are having so much fun.
We're just having fun. Like, I think that's the biggest takeaway of showing that, like, in healthcare, in this industry, that burnout is so rampant.
Yep.
Like, you can have fun, and we're trying to create the anti-burnout experience.
Well,
like,
I
that's
also
important.
imagine too for your employees and peers and coworkers, right? Like anyone who's worked in any, whether collegiate setting, private setting, the reason people don't make it is because of burnout.
Yes.
They are in fucking shambles.
Yeah.
You get chewed up into little bits and pieces.
Yep.
And you just can't take it anymore.
And yeah, it's hard when, like, if you think of the nature of our jobs, our livelihood depends on how many people we see.
Yeah, man.
And there's not really a way to get around that. Like, we see clients, we trade hours of our time to see clients.
Yeah.
And so our thought process is like, well, how do we create a place where it feels less like that?
Yeah.
And people are just hanging out with their friends at work.
Yes.
And seeing people for a long time. Like, we're lucky that our retention is high because we just stay with, like, our clients stay with us and they develop these relationships, and that makes it feel a lot less like that burnout. You know, our mission statement at Old Bull is to change healthcare. And I think of that twofold. It's for the patient, but it's for the provider. Healthcare is not kind to providers. And we talk about it a lot for the patient lens. And of course, that is incredibly important. Mm-hmm. But how do I not only give somebody a rehab experience that they didn't even know existed, but how do I also create a work environment for a physical therapist that they didn't know existed?
If you could give me I'm going to use your reframe technique on you. So what are 3 areas of opportunity for the field in general?
What a positive spin on that, too.
See?
Patty would be happy.
Patty would be so lit right now. Shout out, Patty.
I can't wait for her to watch this. You know, it's going to be good.
Let's go.
So 3 opportunities in the profession. I think by and large, it would be shifting away from a fix-it, doctor-centered approach more to a collaborative, communicative effort with the client. I all the time ask clients what they want to do. Or if I'm progressing somebody, I ask what they're most comfortable with progressing. Do you want more range today, or do you want to load this up in the range that we're currently doing?
So good.
And
I do that with my daughter.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
By the way, that's called good parenting. Just want to let everybody know. Yeah.
For sure.
We give you a couple options here. We can go this route.
Create the illusion of choice.
100%. Everyone does better when they think they made the decision on their own.
Especially with something like pain, because something that I care about is making people less scared of it, and that not all pain equals harm.
So get their autonomy
So
back.
if I'm letting them make the choice, they're like, well, shit, this must not be that bad.
Right.
Like,
we good, fam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think
Mystical's plan. I'm out here making choices.
Exactly.
I would like more range today, Katie.
Yes, and I will shake that ass, as Mystical says. Yes, as the great Mystical once said.
The prophet, the poet, the tarantula. Mystical.
Oh, yes. So that's a huge opportunity, I would say. I would also say another big opportunity is why do PT clinics have carpet, tables everywhere, and like smooth jazz on the radio?
Yeah.
Like, make it look a little bit more exciting.
You're right.
Like, they all look like the nursing home version of a physical therapy facility.
It's the hospice equivalent to a gym.
Correct. So I would say, making it just look like a little less like everybody's about to die would be better.
100%. Maybe you walk in, maybe you don't walk out. I don't know.
Who knows? We'll toss up. Yep. So I think that's a big one too. Like, if we're trying to get people back to where they need to be, or hopefully even better than when they came in, like, what the setting looks like matters. My goal when people walk into Old Bull is you would not know if somebody was doing training or rehab with somebody. That's my biggest goal. That if I can achieve that, then we've created exactly what we wanted.
Fuck yeah.
There shouldn't be a difference. It should all be hard. It should all be movement-based.
I got a follow-up question coming in hot when you get done with this list, too. Just know it's coming off the heels of that.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
And then I think the third one would be, like, not taking ourselves too seriously, which I think is obvious in this podcast with the way that we're talking now, too. But just, like, lighten up. It's not that serious.
Yeah.
I think you can take that a couple ways where, like, people do regress toward the mean, and specific exercise selection maybe matters less. And you can go down a nihilist route and be like, well, nothing matters.
Nothing matters, therefore.
Correct. Or you can
care
see
about
that.
Nothing.
Right.
That was. Okay. Anyway, someone will know what I mean.
Someone will know.
Yeah.
Or you can take it as
an
empowering. Your brain is a scary place, okay?
It is, yeah.
Or somebody can take it as like empowering. Like we have limitless opportunities to help people. If exercise selection doesn't matter as much, hell yeah, I'm not going to do something wrong. I'm going to have an outcome no matter what. And I think that is also a very important way to think of it.
That's so awesome. Zach, what's the best training app on the planet?
It has to be Train Heroic. Gone are the days of sending the old crusty PDF. Now we have a sleek new app.
It's easy to use. There's videos with descriptions. You get to track and log your weight, your reps. There's a community chat function. You can submit videos. You can get feedback.
How about the leaderboard, Tim?
I started using Train Heroic first as an athlete and someone who wanted to learn. Now I use it as a coach. Athletes and other coaches can go and be a part of my training community and get results.
Whether you're an athlete, coach, or just like to train, use the link in our description to find out how you can train on the best app in the world.
And join us on Train Heroic today.
The Coach 'em Up podcast is sponsored by Squat Wedgies. Tim, what are Squat Wedgies?
Squat Wedgies are an adjustable squat wedge, 7, 13, and 20 degrees.
It's big enough to elevate your whole foot and not just your heel.
Because it's rubber, it doesn't slide on surfaces.
It's 22 pounds, so it's durable and stable enough for even your biggest athletes.
There's a 90-day risk-free trial. The shipping is free, and
get 15% off Squat Wedgies with our discount code CoachEmUp15.
Coach 'em Up 15 for 15% off of the best squat wedge on the planet. You talked about having therapy and training be indistinguishable. So having your CSCS, being in the training space, also having gone to, being a physical therapist, what can these two, because there seems to be like a line in the sand, right? There is. But what can both of these fields learn from one another? And then where's the common ground? Like, why is it important that these things look indistinguishable for you inside the walls of Old Bull?
Great question. So I think in terms of what we can learn from each other. So I think physical therapists desperately need to learn better principles of program design, periodization, progressive overload, load management, like S&C principles. We don't get that unless you know it already or unless you seek out that information. I also think on the PT side, we're very, very good at regressions and we're not very good at progressions. So we're very good at finding the least threatening way of doing something and probably staying there for too long instead of challenging people and understanding that physiology needs to be challenged for a change to occur. So I think that's a huge area of opportunity. For strength coaches, I think, and this is something I'm really passionate about in teaching courses that I teach and working with the people that I do, of understanding red flags when pain is something that is totally within their scope versus when it's not. And more so for when it is in their scope, because I think in a lot of cases, trainers are taught out of, erring on the side of caution. If there's pain, I'm going to refer.
Right.
But there are so many times when it is completely appropriate to maybe train around it that day and still get a training stimulus, because systemically, we're going to get all the good stuff that's going to help anyway. We're going to build psychological resilience that way too, because now this person doesn't think they can't move because of the pain that they're having. Or we're going to strengthen the hell out of some tissues that need to be stronger because that's why they have pain in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think there's so much more, and a bigger seat at the table for managing pain as a coach than people realize. And I say this in a very silly way, kind of purposefully, but especially with back pain. If they're not shitting themselves and dragging their legs on the floor, it's not a medical emergency.
Right.
And they need to go through the process of finding a tolerable entry point, getting reassurance that they're okay, and training all of the things that they can still do without symptoms. That is safe for a trainer. That's completely fair game. So I think that each side of the coin, we have to learn those things from each other. And that's why I think they look so similar. There's really very few differences at the end of the day. It's a little bit of the lens that you're using. It's a little bit of the differential diagnosis key that comes into it. But as I was mentioning with I'm agnostic about systems, I'm really also pretty agnostic about a diagnosis.
Damn it. You stole my question. You're so good at this.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. So, I'm really, for me, in the absence of trauma or like red flags or a very specific acute mechanism of injury, most people's pain is going to be due to placing demands on their body that they weren't quite ready for.
Yeah.
So their tissues.
It's load management and your.
Very often.
Yes.
Load management, programming errors, volume intensity issues, just not stressing their body in the way that their goal activity is demanding them. That's why I get most information about what I need to do with somebody based on asking questions and getting their history, but also what's your program look like? And then when they say, what? I'm like, okay, here we go.
All right.
Or like somebody who wants to run a marathon, but they're only powerlifting and like because they're like transitioning maybe to becoming an endurance athlete, but they're powerlifting 3 days a week and then now they want to run, so they're also running 5 days a week and they're just adding things together instead of distributing them. Like things like that. That gives me so much more information than it's your meniscus.
Right.
Like if you don't have red flags, I don't really care. I think it's so much more about what are the demands of the activity that you need to do versus like what your tissues are currently ready to tolerate. Are you training your tissues in a way that matches what your demand activity is? Are you doing springy things and saying you want to run and jump and wondering why shit hurts when you run and jump?
Right.
Are you like strengthening your tissues to support the goals that you have? That's probably going to be more related to the issue.
You answered that beautifully, by the way. How do you go about navigating that conversation with the athlete client in front of you? Because I've found that people often actually, they want a diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gives them a sense of certainty. I think that's what it comes down to.
For sure. Yeah.
They want certainty. They want to know here's the problem. Here's the plan. This is how, and it's going to be linear and everything's going to be tied up in this pretty fucking bow. And just tell me what's wrong with me so we can fix it.
Right, right.
But it's not that simple.
And that's the hardest part. I get asked this question a lot about just like, okay, well, that's great, but how do you tell that to a client who's begging you to say like, you have a grade 2 strain of this? And that I really think how you start the conversation and set expectations from the beginning is important. So when I meet with somebody for the first time, I ask them if they've ever had physical therapy before. And a lot of times they say yes and it didn't work, or they say yes and they explain what they did. And I'm like, we do things a little bit differently here. What I care the most about today is making sure you're safe. And by doing that, I'm ruling out anything that would warrant the need for further diagnostics or imaging or anything that's like out of my scope, but I know where to send you if we need to do that. Once I've ruled that stuff out, the specific tissues matter a lot less. And what I care the most about is your function. So today, our goal is to rule out red flags, as well as create kind of a list of all the things that we found that we can work on together. And that's going to include things that you're a rock star at, so I can give you the green light to keep doing, but also the things that we found like, hey, we got some opportunity to grow here. If there's a need for me to get more specific with a diagnosis, I will, but we operate kind of with that lens instead. And I set the stage for that. So they know what they're getting coming into it. And then kind of at the end of our evaluation, I'm wrapping it up, like really like hammering those points home again. Like, hey, through all the stuff that we did today, you crushed this. And like, I can tell you're really strong in this pattern. So I'm going to give you some suggestions to keep baking this into your program. These are the things that we found that you had a harder time with, and it makes sense with your pain. You had a harder time with this pattern and it's related to this type of strength. And that's something we want to beef up. So we're going to create a plan together to get that strength even better. And then from there, I'm constantly checking to make sure those red flags aren't present. And that's the way that I kind of create that conversation and make them feel really safe and make them feel really validated. And then they really usually don't care about a specific diagnosis after that.
God, that is so good. I can tell you've had that same conversation so many times. Yeah. And you've kind of perfected the craft of that. Yeah. I also couldn't help but allow my mind to wander. It's like while you're saying that, like in the background, it's like, shake it fast, watch yourself. You know what I mean? That's awesome. That's fucking awesome.
Please have that in the background. Yeah. This is all I've ever wanted.
Yes.
Can we tag Mystical? Is this how we create a relationship with Mystical?
100%. We'll get him on the show. Well, listen, we're actively working on getting the frontman Scott Stapp, I believe his name is, for Creed on the show.
Oh, perfect.
We've reached out to his people. We haven't heard anything back. I'm sure
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, eventually. But Mystical might be
he's kind of
suitable replacement.
I think he's craving for some PR. It's been a while.
It has been a minute. Yeah. Haven't heard any new singles lately.
Yeah, same.
We talked about this a little earlier. I also I love Alec Blennis.
Yes.
I'm just a fan of that guy.
He's awesome.
He is so awesome. Everyone's, after you've listened to this and subscribed and sent it to 50,000 people, his YouTube channel, phenomenal. He's actually doing the thing that I really wanted to do when I first started this podcast, but this thing just kind of grew into what it was, which is like, Alec is spending his own money to go and travel, to meet coaches, to train with them, and just to hang and just talk shit. I mean, are you fucking kidding me?
It was so much fun.
How awesome is that?
So much fun.
He came out, we hung out, and like we did like an hour of training, and we just yapped and laughed for 3 hours.
It was a blast. Yeah, he came to Miami. It was so funny because it was in January, so it was like 60 degrees, and I was frigid. And
he's like, this place is a tropical paradise.
He walks in like shorts and a t-shirt, and we're all bundled up in the gym. And he's like, you guys are weak. And we had the best time. So Alec has been my coach in October, it'll be 3 years.
Wow.
So we've been working together for a very long time. When you see somebody like that online, you're like, I'm not going to not work with him.
Yeah,
like,
let's find a way to make this happen.
I want to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Because for me, my training goals, like I want to be as stupidly strong as possible while also being able to like run up a mountain. So like those are that's like where I live right now. And so he's the perfect person for that. And we've done a lot of cool stuff together. Everything from like PRing a 1RM reverse lunge to like a 6-hour trail race in New Hampshire, like really cool stuff. And so he's a phenomenal coach, but even like just a cooler dude. Like he's just really down to earth. He's a good human. And so we did like a glute focused workout for like 4 hours. That was like I in real time overtrained. Like I felt it. I was like,
he did that to me on the hack squat, dude.
I was unwell.
Yes.
I was waiting to hear how he felt because I couldn't let him know.
Yeah.
And he texted me the next day and he's like, I'm so sore. I'm like, thank God, me too.
Thank God, same.
Thank God. Because I wanted to play it cool, you know?
Of course. Yeah. As one does.
And we were just like, I'm sure, same with you guys, like just going back and forth and just nonsense.
100%.
Like if we were doing single leg.
Well, he's such a motherfucker. He says, he was like, how many are you gonna do here? Because we were doing an AMRAP set on the hack squat after working up to a top set.
Course.
And I was like, I don't know, like 5 to 8 max. He's like, oh, dude, you definitely got at least 10. I'm like, we
don't all do 20 reps of things.
Dude.
Oh, yeah.
You bastard. Because I know, and in that moment, I was like, he baited me.
For sure.
He baited me into it. Mm-hmm. And of course, we're recording on YouTube. I can't not. I have to do that now.
You have no other choice.
So, I did it. And
you're better for it.
I saw the light, and you know what I mean? I was screaming, and then he did the same weight for 20 reps.
Yeah, that checks out.
Motherfucker, dude.
The greatest part, it was so funny. We were setting up because we were doing reverse lunges, and we when we got to the point in like the 300s, I was Hatfielding, and he was just doing it. And but he was, I was unwell.
So that's actually what I wanted to talk about.
Hatfielding.
You're a fucking animal, dude. You're a savage.
Thank you.
You are a badass.
Thank you.
So I want to talk about just your training, your post-collegiate training journey.
Yeah.
Why you've fallen in love with the things you've fallen in love with, what you're training for, and some of the things you've done along the way.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I think I've always loved running. I think that's like something that weirdly I got into from a young age too. And then like rowing that engine that we talked about, like I kind of just always feel like I have that aerobic capacity, which is awesome. So for me, a big goal of mine is to maintain and even build as much strength as possible while I'm able to run like from an endurance perspective. And then sprinkling in like plyos and speed work in there too. But those are my two goals. Like my fiance and I, when we travel, we're crazy and we just pick like cool trail runs to do and we'll center our trip around that.
So dope.
So we're going to Mount Rainier in Washington this summer and I'm super excited. So that's how we're starting the trip, like a trail half marathon there. And in all of that, I still want to be able to just like see what I can do and keep pushing myself. That's been really like the main theme of things. I went through the evolution that I think most people do, where I was training for my sport for a long time and like strength training from that lens, but we did so much awesome like barbell work with that. When I got out of that, I got really into like competitive 5K and 10K racing. So I did that for a long time and strength training was a little bit less involved. And then I kind of like flipped it and got really interested in strength training and did, like the bodybuilding type sessions. And then I think everybody goes through kind of 100%. Those evolutions.
Yes.
And then now on the other end of it, like I just like it all. And I want to be like mildly okay at each of those domains.
Yes.
And I'm cool with like maybe there's certain numbers that I wouldn't necessarily hit right now, but like I can do pretty damn close to that and then also run up a mountain. So that's been really fun.
What are some of your best lifts? Let's brag a little bit.
I think so. I weigh like 135. I got a 125 pound overhead press, which I was very pleased with. Strict press. Yeah, but it was just like, oh, that's my spine. Like, it was wild. And I think my reverse lunge when I did like the challenge with Alec, I think it was like 265.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
You're an animal.
But
how has that helped you as a coach though?
I have skin in the game.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, especially, this is not meant to knock men, but especially when I work with some men and they're doing stuff and I'm like, do you want to know what I do for that? Because that is not an RPE 7 for you. That's not an RPE 8.
Not using that in that context would be insanity.
Yeah. And it's not totally only meant to make fun of them, but it's also just like, no, I'm trying to actually teach you what effort is. Like, I promise that's not what you think it is.
Yeah.
I also think like it, especially, I'm sure you can relate to this too. I'm really enjoying being in my 30s as a coach now because I think people listen to us more and you're not just like, the dude who's 25 100%. And can do anything.
I would not be able to do this podcast 5 years ago.
No, there's no way.
No chance.
So that's been really fun. Yeah, that's been really fun for me too because now I feel like I do have a little bit more weight in that where women who are scared to lift heavy because they think they're going to look a certain way.
Right.
Or people in general who think that you have to stop doing things as you get into your 30s and later. Like, I'm like, no, just don't be ridiculous about it. Like
100%.
All the stuff that we talk about, progressive overload and actually like managing your volume. Like my training is actually pretty low volume, but the intensity is high. So there's so many things that I can talk about with people. And like, yeah, if I am doing this, I'm practicing what I'm preaching. And I come at it with the lens of like, okay, this is what I'm doing in my 30s. What ridiculous stuff can I do in my 40s? Like a kind of joke thing that's kind of, I've been saying it more and more. Like one of my training goal is I want to be confusingly jacked at every decade.
I saw you post that recently, the confusingly jacked, and it made me laugh out loud because I was like, fuck yes, dude.
Yes.
I want to make people like
concerned,
uncomfortable.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
like, that's what I want.
Is this freak show?
That's what I want.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And that's
what are you doing?
I want people to be, like concerned.
Yeah.
And I talk about that with my clients. Like, we don't have to think of aging as this, oh my God, it all gets worse thing.
Right.
I'm thinking of it as like, what insane things can I do with each decade of life? So that's where my training is focused on, confusingly jacked at every decade, but still being able to move around and like do the running side of things and do like the trail running side of things.
Being capable.
Yeah, I think so.
More than capable, actually. Yeah. All right, let's get into some segments.
Let's do it. Is this what ChatGPT found for you? I'm a little bit scared.
So actually, I think we only ChatGPT gave us like 2 good follow-up questions. Maybe it was 3. But that was 95% just conversational, which is exactly what we wanted.
Yeah,
That's the goal. That's why people love the Coach 'em Up podcast. Okay, so this first segment is brought to you by Squat Wedgies. Use code CoachEmUp15 at checkout for everything site-wide, squatwedgies.com. They don't just have squat wedges. They have Nord boards and tib bars. And I believe, well, actually, I can't say this because it's a new product. I'm not supposed to leak it. So that was close. Okay, so what are 3 things? There's a physical therapist out there listening to this who's like, you're talking and they're like, yes.
Yeah.
God damn. It's so refreshing. But they don't know how to get to where you're at in terms of taking the breadth of this conversation and beginning to enact it in their own practice.
Yeah.
So what are 3 ideas, principles, actions that someone can start taking now to help them bridge the gap? I
think something I talk about often is you can utilize these principles. That's why principles are so great and so much better than protocols in any practice setting you are. I think people can get tripped up of like, oh, well, I don't work in a facility that has a squat rack. I don't work in a facility that has kettlebells like this. If you are using the thought process of how can I make this the most valuable time for this person, you could do body weight stuff and make that happen with what you have access to that day. If you're able to utilize those principles of how do I create a psychologically like fun experience, but also like a physiologically demanding experience, I think you can do that anywhere. Long duration ISOs, slow tempos, pauses, increasing ranges of motion, getting really creative with how you load people, all of that stuff you can do anywhere. I think that's a good starting point for people who maybe feel a little bit more handcuffed by what they're able to do in session with somebody. I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is consuming content like this and getting ideas and hearing that there's like other people out there who think this way and that you're not on an island. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, maybe people who think this way, who are in a more traditional setting, they're every single day just seeing other people in their space going through the motions and not talking about this stuff. So reminding yourself that there are people out there who think this way and that like online relationships go a far way too.
They do.
Like that's been one of the coolest things about getting like more kind of in this industry. There's so many friends that I would have never had if I didn't just like say silly things in their DMs and like become friends with them, you know?
Right.
So reach out to the people that you're interested in learning from, and you never know, like you might spark up a conversation. I think that's important too. And then I think also like do this stuff yourself, train yourself, and know what it feels like to work hard, know what it feels like to be able to program a strength block for somebody. Like there's no better exposure than you yourself knowing what these things feel like. And if we get back into the psychological side of that too, if you're in a weird point of your career and maybe you're trying to branch out and you want to do something on your own, the psychological resilience you get from doing hard stuff in the gym translates into doing hard stuff in the real world.
100%.
I really think a lot of the things that I've been able to do, kind of risk taking, is also just because like I'm used to doing hard stuff. I'm used to things being difficult, and it's just kind of the norm. So if you do that in your day-to-day life and challenge your own body and your own self, I think that goes a long way too.
Amazing. Okay, next segment. This segment is called Rant and Rave. It's brought to you by Train Heroic. There's a link. It's in the show notes, baby. Click it. Join Train Heroic. I use Train Heroic. Zach uses Train Heroic. A lot of people do because it's really great. Click the link in the show notes and join us. Join us. All right, Rant and Rave.
Yeah.
Rant. Something that you're seeing in performance, fitness, PT, we'll just call it the fitness umbrella that you're seeing and you're like, I don't love that. Would like to see less of that. And then once we get through that difficult time, we will come around to the rave where you're going to talk about something that you're seeing and you're like, you know what? Hell yeah.
Ooh, okay. This is a good one. I think even beyond just like standing on a Bosu ball, dumb things like that we all know. I think what I really dislike in the industry is how negative and mean everybody is.
Yeah.
Where a lot of things like content creation comes from talking poorly about what somebody else is doing.
That's gotten big.
Yeah. And
it's at an all-time high.
Right. I think there's a way to do it where we're not as mean.
Yes.
I think
a tactful way.
Right. I think there's a better.
But Katie, it's so much easier to just say, look at this dipshit,
for sure,
idiot.
For sure.
Yeah.
I just think it's unnecessary, and I don't think it moves the profession forward.
Right.
And that's always been like a cringy thing to me. I don't want to consume content where it's just somebody talking badly about what somebody else has done.
Yeah.
Well, what's your idea?
Yeah.
Like, I want to learn from you then, okay?
Yeah.
What's your idea? What's your solution? So that's a
What's the saying? If you're talking about a problem without presenting a solution, you're just complaining.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a big one.
Damn, I got that one from the depths of my brain.
That was quite good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Was that in your notes app?
No, it wasn't. Nope.
Oh,
it wasn't even Chat GPT.
What? Crazy.
I know.
Yeah. So that's a big issue I have. Yeah. And then I think a rave that I have. I'm loving.
It's not Space at 6 a.m. Just a regular.
Oh yeah, that was a good callback. That
Thank
was very
you.
Good. I think I'm really enjoying the fact that like fitness and building muscle is becoming such a topic of conversation right now. I think for the first time ever, like the average person is being exposed to the importance of having muscle mass. And I think that's huge. I think some grifters are taking it and running with it a bit too much to sell some products. But I do think like by and large.
Have you ever heard of creatine?
Right? Is it a steroid?
Yeah.
That's what clients ask me all the time.
So I heard.
I'm like, no, Cheryl, you're going to be fine.
Cheryl, listen, Cheryl,
like,
for fuck's sake.
Take some creatine.
Yeah, take it.
So I love that, though. I think it's awesome that that is being talked about, especially geared toward women. Like, I think
100%.
I always tell my clients, like, having muscle mass is the cheat code to life, where, like, you have so much more metabolic flexibility. The more muscle mass you have, you can tolerate more ups and downs in your own training and your own life. And it's a buffer for cortisol. Like, you can be less stressed. Like, there's so many things that I just think are so important. And people are finally talking about it, which I get excited about.
Yeah, I agree. It is exciting. And it's a good thing to see. It's about time.
Right.
If you weren't a coach, what would you be and why?
Oh, this is an interesting question. I actually have always been really into art. I like to draw. Yeah. So I think I would try to do, I like to draw.
Are you good at everything? What the fuck, man? No. Is your husband annoyed 24/7?
No.
You can't catch a football. That's the only thing.
I really cannot.
Okay, all right. Okay, I do feel better about it then.
It's not good.
Okay.
So many people can vouch for that.
That genuinely makes me feel better.
So many people can vouch for that, unfortunately. Yeah, that's fine.
But you're an artist.
I mean, I don't dabble in it nearly as much as I would like to, but that was something that growing up, I kind of always thought I was going to go to art school. Like I'm really, I like to draw a lot. So now it kind of comes out, I'll do like a Christmas card each year and draw it because that's like how I still get to do it. But yeah, I would do something in the arts.
Do you find that you get some of that, the ability to express that or scratch that itch through social media?
Probably. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, because I also really like to write and convey a thought. And I think that's probably quite related to that too. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. This is our final segment brought to you by Eleiko. Still can't believe that such a prestigious, wonderful company took a chance on us. So thank you, Eleiko. If you click the link and at checkout, you enter in Coach 'em Up 10, I cannot stress this enough. You get 10% off everything. Not just like shirts or like everything Eleiko offers, you get 10% off. That's fucking bananas. Just want to throw that out there because Anyway, this is called Unsolicited, Solicited Advice. We're going to take a ride to my gym.
Yes.
After we finish up here. And I'm assuming you're going to work out, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to know anybody there, presumably. Mm-hmm. However, in passing, someone is going to be walking past you, and you are going to feel the overwhelming conviction to share a piece of advice with this person. They didn't ask for it, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm asking for it. What would that piece of advice be? And it can be about anything, training, life, any piece of advice that you're like, you know what? Here you go.
I would say... I think of something in the training lens. Stop caring so much about your form with every single movement, except when you care about it for a certain target tissue. Otherwise, enjoy movement, explore a little bit, get over yourself.
Nice.
Yeah.
What great advice.
Thank you. Yeah. I think that's like maybe another pet peeve of mine too, of people just like getting super
just like
specific. Yeah. I'm like, well, does it stress your target tissue or not? Can they achieve that position or not?
Right.
Move on.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
I can't believe that we've already come to time. I feel like we could have done a 3-hour episode.
That went by so fast. Yeah.
This is the second show in a row where I'm like, we may have to do more time. By the time this show comes out, I think it's going to be in about a month. But you guys cast some votes in the comments. Like, if you would like the show to go longer, if we get enough, requests, then we will do that. Before we end the show, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you?
Instagram's the best place. My Instagram or our Old Bull Athletics page would be the best place. We are always talking about any events that we're doing or any courses that I'm teaching or seminars that are coming up. So that's the spot to find us.
Nice. Thank you so much again for making the trip out here. I know you have plans to lay by the pool later. Hopefully the weather gets... it was a little cloudy out there, so let's hope...
I don't even care.
You don't give a shit.
I'm just going to be like... yeah.
Awesome. All right. Dr. Katie Dabrowski, everybody, thank you for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.